Hey everyone, it's your boy Ivy here with another video bringing you my most honest opinion on what to do to rush yourself to the endgame contents of Diablo 4. The entire process can be done solo, but having a friend to do this with will double the speed of this grind. Also, I would highly recommend for you to find a friend who can help you clear the second capstone dungeon, which is located in Dry Steppes, to quickly unlock World Tier 4. In addition, having a group to run with between levels 80 to 100 will also help you save a tremendous amount of time down the road. I hold a full-time job and I do my best in making the best use of my time in all ARPGs as well as MMORPGs I play. I chose to be a bard for my first character and I was able to hit level 100 in 16 days. I started the main storyline with a few friends, did my mid-level grind between levels 50 to 80 as a solo, and pushed from 80 to 100 in a group dungeon farm. There were a few days when I didn't have time to play, but for the most part, I've grinded pretty hard. Like many of you, I enjoyed playing through the entire storyline at least once in every ARPGs or MMORPGs I get into. The first thing you want to do, whether you're playing as a solo or with a group, is to go through the main story quests as fast as possible. Feel free to enjoy the storyline with all the cutscenes, but in this video we'll focus mainly on speeding to the endgame contents. I've skipped through all cutscenes with the exceptions of Act 6 when I was on my way to killing Lilith. It was one of the best choices I've made. Look for gears along the way to replace your old ones, but I would not recommend upgrading anything at this point as most of your gears will quickly become obsolete. From levels 1 to 50, I would recommend for you to run the entire main storyline in World Tier 1. It's very tempting for people to want to run it in World Tier 2 because of the 20% increased EXP gain as well as the 15% more golds perk. However, this will also make the monsters harder to kill, which means that you'll have to spend a lot more time for the 2 extra perks that T2 provides. In this guide, we'll be focusing on steps that will get us to the endgame content, spending as little hours as possible. During the early phase of the grind, you'll see a lot of common, magic, and rare item drops. At this stage, I recommend for you to pick up all magic and rare items, sell all the magics, and salvage all the rare items you don't need. Selling the magic items will provide you with just enough gold for the mid-game upgrades, and by salvaging all the rare items in the early game, you'll put yourself at a very good spot of having all the crafting materials you need for the late game grind. Trust me, it'll be worth it. Don't get me wrong, having a lot of gold is very important in the late game, but we'll be transitioning into selling all of our items in the late game grind. As you can see in this video, which the full version can be found at the link below, I killed Lilith in Act 6 as a solo at level 45. As soon as I finished the epilogue, a friend of mine helped push me to World T4 by rushing me through the capstone dungeon. Thinking back, this was probably one of the best power play any rookies can do to boost themselves up to a whole new level. After you've unlocked World T4, things will start to get interesting and there are many things you can do to continue your progress. In my opinion, the best way to farm after the main storyline is to start off by running Helltides whenever it's up. It'll be rough for the first few hours as you'll get one shot by everything in World T4. However, you can start things off by swapping between T3 and T4. You kill mobs in World T3 to obtain 350 Aberrant Cinders before swapping over to World T4, and from there you run straight to the 2 mystery chests for the rewards. The mystery chests will always guarantee 2 legendary items, Fiend Roses, Forgotten Souls, and randomized elixirs. In most cases, you can see up to 5 legendary drops. The plan at World T4 is to grab the 2 mystery chests without fighting anything. Try to run in open areas on your mount and avoid any mobs that you can by running around them. Avoid everything at all costs as dying will make you lose half of your cinders. You can find the locations of all the mystery chests at Helltides.com. Keep an eye out on the reset as sometimes you can get up to 6 mystery chests in one Helltide. In between Helltides, you have 2 options to power level up yourselves. You can either run regular solo dungeons or group dungeons. I would highly recommend for you to run group dungeons as the EXP gain is way more than doing things solo. Unfortunately, for my 2 weeks grind, I did power level as a solo between 50 to 80 by running one of my favorite dungeons, Uldur's Caves at Kechistan. I don't recommend for anyone to grind nightmare dungeons until season 1, as they're only good for leveling up your glyphs at this patch. It is good to take a break in between to do a few runs just to level up your glyphs, but trust me, once you hit level 90 plus, you can max them all out to level 21 in a very short period of time. During my regular runs between levels 50 to 80, I picked up every rare items I found, whether it's ancestral or not, and sold everything I do not need to the vendor for gold. At this stage, you can start looking for endgame gears and level them up as you please. Never leave the dungeon midway just because your inventory is full. Run through the entire thing as quickly as you can, killing everything on sight, and complete the event that is in the dungeon. After the dungeon is complete, use your emote button to leave the dungeon. Take 2 steps away from the entrance and TP back to town to quickly sell your items. Other than your jewelry, which the stats are not affected by the item power level, you can pretty much sell everything else with the power item level of below 770. Go back to your TP and the dungeon should be reset for the next run. The reason why I chose Uldur's Cave out of all the other dungeons is because its main town is at Gear Cool. The closest vendor to the TP area is the jeweler. Between resets, you can sell your items at the jeweler and check out what they have in the shop. Note that new stock delivery refreshes every hour, so make sure you keep an eye out for possible ancestral items with high rolls on them. I was averaging around 6 mil EXP per hour running this solo at World T4. Along the way, you'll find a lot of gears to set yourself up for the late game, even ancestral uniques that are fit for your builds. Remember, speed is what we're always looking for, so make sure that you can kill all the mobs in just a few seconds before you transition from farming at World T3 to World T4. It shouldn't take you long. I understand that for most people, including myself, it does seem like a very boring task to do, but being stuck grinding nightmare dungeons will be just as boring. On top of that, you'll have all the time you need to check out all the nightmare dungeons when you move towards hitting T100 nightmares. Also, the upside of regular dungeons is that you won't have to worry about dying, and you can just slap on your favorite movie or TV show on the side and mindlessly grind through these dungeons. It'll only take a couple of days, and before you know it, you'll be set for the next step in no time. Not to mention, if you have friends to do the group dungeon routes with, which I'll explain later on in this video, you're looking to average around 11 mil plus EXP per hour. If you don't believe me, I have a full video of my group dungeon grind that you can check out at the link below as well. As soon as you become strong enough not to get one shot in World Tier 4 Helltides, you have the option to remain in World Tier 4 to follow some high levels around to collect cinders for your mystery chests, or you can continue to swap between T3 and T4. I would recommend for you to continue to grab these mystery chests as they'll give you Forgotten Souls, which are salvage materials used to upgrade your late game items. However, it's not necessary for you to attend every single Helltide events. At this point, you can also check out the Legion events, which will provide you with a huge EXP boost as well as possible mount skin drops. Just remember to stay near the lit up campfire for the 15 stacks of EXP boost before the event starts. Besides Helltides and Legion events, you might also want to keep an eye out for world bosses. Defeating them gives you scatter prisms, which are rare crafting materials that can be used at the jewelers to add sockets to your weapons. Legendary and unique items can also be found along with the Grand Cash as part of the weekly bonus. You can get up to 3 Grand Cash per week by defeating the 3 world bosses that can be spawned around the world: Ashava the Demon Dragon, Wandering Death the Skeletal Giant, and Avarice the Slug that holds the treasure chest. Remember to break the chest after defeating Avarice for additional loots. I haven't had much luck in getting anything good from defeating the world bosses, but it's just something nice to do on the side. Getting from levels 1 to 80 is probably one of the easiest thing anyone can do. Starting from levels 80 to 100 is where things will start to get rough for many people. At this stage, I highly recommend for you to get at least one more person to level up with you. There's no restriction to what level they have to be, simply the more people you got, the faster you'll be able to clear each rotation. My favorite place to run regular group dungeons with is at Blind Burrows. The layout of this dungeon is almost the same every time, and it's packed with mobs of spiders that are very easy to kill. Assign a group lead and make sure they have the enable quick join settings on. You can do that by going to the character selection screen, go to the options, and at the bottom of the social tab, you'll see the checkbox for enable quick join. When you enter Blind Burrows, have your group divide and conquer to clear the first part of the dungeon named Plague Tunnels. After slaying the 3 invested villagers, the group lead should see the objective change. They then can check the map and make sure that the first part of the map has been fully discovered before leaving the group. This will reset the dungeon and teleport the group lead back to the entrance of the dungeon, and the rest of the group can then request to join the new group right away to be teleported to the next fully reset dungeon. Rinse and repeat. When you hit level 90, you have 2 more options to continue the late game grind. One is to continue to farm Blind Burrows until you hit level 100, and the other is to farm Nightmare Dungeons to level up your glyphs along the way. Just remember that for Nightmare Dungeons, you want to run tiers that are 51 level below your current level, so at level 90, you should be able to speed through a T39 Nightmare without any issues. You can most likely run a few tiers higher, but I would not recommend that as there is a cap on EXP gain on those higher level mobs. 51 minus your current level is the magic number you're looking for. On the other hand, if you do decide to get yourself to level 100 first before running Nightmare Dungeons, you can then power level up your glyphs by only completing the objectives for each phase and speed through the Nightmare Dungeons without killing unnecessary mobs. Either way, you should be speeding through the last few levels within a few days of grinding, and at level 100, I was able to complete a T60 Nightmare without too much trouble. The rest of the grind to get yourself to T100 Nightmares will depend on gearing yourself up with good perks as well as choosing the correct aspects to put on those gears. I know that many of us have full-time jobs and perhaps a family that requires a lot of our time and attention. I hope that you can find this guide helpful in terms of saving time to getting to the end game contents. I wish you all the best and good luck in getting some of those biz drops along the way. And until next time, Ivy, we out.